again, and welcome to the Dietitian Against Diets podcast show. I'm your host, Rashonda Thornton, and we are now in season 2 of this podcast production. And so, as we're getting ready to roll out our guests, I want to introduce you to one of my long-term podcast partners, Undeniably Dairy. And if you haven't heard of Undeniably Dairy, it is a part of Midwest Dairy Council, and they're putting out ways of messaging the ways to give yourself nutrients when it comes to how you incorporate healthy dairy products in every meal and every snack. And when we think about dairy products, it's not just about milk. It's actually composed of several different products that can provide the same non-essential nutrients, being protein, calcium, and potassium as a few. So if your goal is to start this 2021 year off, start with planning and implementing more healthy foods and healthy sources in your body, and that comes with implementing more dairy. So whether it's a simple string cheese stick, create a smooth, fruity Greek yogurt parfait, or even just adding milk to your smoothies. Go actually to dairygood.com and you'll find some of these recipes, some nutritional information that will give you the equipment that you need to know that you're making the right choice when it comes to your nutrition. And also find ways to be creative in how you're feeding yourself. Find them on their website, dairygood.com, or follow them on Instagram at Midwest Dairy. So in addition to that, you've seen me several different times talk about how we're going to start, not just changing our perspective, but learning how to place it intact when it comes to our nutrition, our wellness, how we feel and care about ourselves. So I got a question for you. We have 2020 behind us, and now we have 2021 in front of us. And I know everyone wants to start off with their New Year's resolutions, but my question for you is, what are your plans for the new year? And is your plan something that's going to be short-lived, or is it going to be something long-term, long-sustainable? Because when you make plans, they can go either direction. You can either move forward by making goals and executing them, or you can stay stagnant by just getting by, but never really truly step up to the plate of what you want to do and what you deserve for yourself. Or you can go the opposite direction by going backwards with ignoring the fact that change has to happen. And of course, there's no surefire way to meet any goals, but whatever you tried in the past, ask yourself, has it worked? And if it hasn't, ask yourself, what other approaches can you take to ensure that they do work, especially for this given year? So as you should know a little bit about my background, I've been a consultant dietitian for the last 8 years and been in the wellness industry for over 12 years. And I work with hundreds of people in regard to their nutrition. I help people with customizing and developing a new way of approaching their nutrition, not trying to change their old ways, but giving them a new perspective on how to tackle this lifelong struggle they've had with food. But also talk about struggles, help to teach them how to overcome their personal struggles. And by doing so, building a new relationship with food that is more so self-serving and not self-sabotaging. So again, I'm a dietitian, and, working with a dietitian, it would always ensure that your nutrition would never be compromised. There's no food groups going to be taken out. We're not taking half the calories out of our day. Our body needs those particular nutrients just to live. And so teaming up with someone, a healthcare professional that has that knowledge, that has that ability to help you, that's what you want to seek for your long-term changes, whether it's your weight, your health, or just clean eating practices. So me personally, I see to it that your life and your healthy eating are aligned to where they're like living a harmonious life. I always say marry nutrition to your life. So that means instead of fitting you into this system or program that may not really be you, I'll build your program around you. And so what does that mean? That means your mindset changes away from past eating cultures. You begin to recognize all the little and big things that have been holding you back. And you'll finally be able to jump off that roller coaster of weight gain and weight loss. So this particular month in January, I want to extend and commemorate my 12 years being in the industry and offer a 12% discount for anyone that wants to partake in any of my services. If you want to learn more about where you can find what I do for a living and my services, simply go to my website at www.rashondathornton.com or follow me on Instagram at The Dietitian Against Diets, or you can find me on Facebook at Rashonda Arbella Vessel. Get on there, jump on there, read a little bit about me, kind of see what aligns with your thoughts and your goals, where you want to be. And take that next step and let's have a conversation. I offer 15-minute free consultations just to see where you're at, what you're looking for, and then seeing if it makes sense for us to work together. So find me, contact me, reach out, and I would love to start your next journey of health for yourself. So stay tuned and get ready for my podcast guest coming up soon. All right, welcome to another episode of the Dietitian Against Diets. This is Rashonda Thornton, your host, and I want to also welcome you to season 2. So we are coming back full circle with a lot of podcast interviews and great conversations. And I want to kick it off with a great guest I have today. His name is Will McNeely, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about who he is, but I'm definitely going to let him do more elaboration. So this gentleman has a mastery levels in resistance training, so he's a resistance training specialist. But what's unique about him that he combines his faith to his passion of physical fitness. And by doing so, he has authored books, one in particular called Strong Willed, designed for a physical purpose. And he has a new one out in 2020 called Standing Ourselves. And it's understanding strength. It is actually a volume one of many that he has coming along. And last but not least, he is a loving husband and a father of 3. And he has found some way to collapse his life, his physical fitness, and his spirituality together into one nice bowl. So I want to say welcome, William, to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm real excited to be here, Rashonda.
Great. Yes, I'm excited to talk. I mean, I was getting giddy as I was reading your profile and going to your website and just kind of seeing some of the things you got moving forward. And we'll definitely get into that. But, I figured, after reading everything about you, I feel let's center the conversation around some of the topics that you talked about was about how are we going to talk through those self-defeating mentality and also learn to reflect our value of ourselves through our physical fitness. And like when I read that part, I was like, all right, he totally gets he gets what's going on underneath the surface of a lot of things that we do, because a lot of times we do self-sabotage ourselves, but it's all of everything where we start comes from the mentality. So I felt like this would be a great time, especially beginning of the year, to kind of get some of those wheels turning and change some of those perspectives. So what I would like, I gave everyone my little synopsis of you, but give me a little bit of insight of just not what you do, but more so why you do what you do and how it has kind of come together into a perfect storm.
Oh yeah, right on. So, um, what I'm currently been working on is it's just like when it comes to gyms and fitness and everything, I've been real blessed to be in the position that I'm in. So I'm right now. I've been married happily for 7 years. I got 3 kids: Rocky, Maverick, and Rambo. And so first and foremost, it's like I'm a husband and I'm
Uh-huh.
also a father, and just like that's been such a fun, exciting journey and privilege to be on. Just my oldest son Rocky, he's 6 years old, and then I got my daughter Maverick, she's 4,
Oh,
and then
wow.
my son Rambo, he's about 1 year old,
Okay, so
So
you have a
it's
handful there.
oh yeah. So being in that position, being a father, it's like I've got to think a lot about like my own like thought process and it's like what I really want to leave my children and what I want to teach them. So just like I get to think a lot about with my own writings about what do I really want to share with them and just like and have them grow up and train them into. So it's like my big thing and it's like what you're talking about when it came to like developing that exercise sort of mentality. It's just
Mm-hmm.
it's so important to have a thought process. So just like that's what I really start to focus on in the past 7 years is kind of writing down my own thought process and and thinking about like, okay, if I had to teach like my own children, where would I start? So just like it started to come with me when I was just how do I even get them to understand just things or understand stuff about life in general? So I started to break down that word and like, what does understanding even mean?
Hmm.
Well, understanding is 2 words. You have under and then you have standing. And just like whenever you have the term standing, it actually refers to like, okay, there's a lot of things that stand in this world. So the world itself, trees, food, concepts like exercise and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And we as humans that we have the God-given ability to, let's understand them. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever you try to like take something that just stands, it's just like, okay. if I want to understand it, then I literally can grab it, take a look, and be like, okay, I could weigh it, I could hold it, I can look at it, and that's how I go through the process of understanding it. So it's always an act of humility because it's just like um, you have to first acknowledge it's just like I didn't create this thing in the first place. It stands here for a reason. So just like from that concept, it just like that's how you go about understanding something. So with my own children, it just like um, what I've been writing and reflecting about on a lot lately is just like if I'm going to teach them how to properly understand something, we have to first acknowledge what overstands it. And just like overstanding, that's been kind of a new process that
Okay.
I've been really like writing down lately. And if you have the ability to understand something, you have the ability to acknowledge, okay, something overstands this, which means that something created it. Why does this thing stand here in the
Okay.
first place?
I see what
So
you're saying
concepts
now.
like exercise, health, food, all that stuff. It just
Hmm.
like you have to go from that perspective first, and that's kind of like your paradigm for your thoughts and like really examining those sorts of things. So just um, passing that thought process on to like my own children and my wife, and just like and writing it down. That's kind of like the thing where it just like if I'm going to teach my kids about like exercise itself, it's just like okay, that's where we're going to start at. It's just like I want to teach them about what overstands it first and foremost, and like, kind of like mine, your like thought perspective. It just like okay, God, you are the ultimate overstander, and you're the one who created these things. So just like we as humans, how can I humbly go about understanding what you created? So just like, and that's what I write about and want to teach my children.
Hmm.
So, and especially when it comes to exercise and stuff, um, that's how you go about that.
Yeah. And I love that because a lot of times when you hear individuals talk about their aha moment or the moment of change, it's always it's always an afterthought of sometimes after the span of things that's happened as negative, right? Especially regarding them being parents. But now it's like you're more on the foresight side of it. You're wanting to prepare the land, for lack of better words, for your children as far as the mindset and how they approach things. And so
Oh yeah.
I appreciate like that angle, especially being a father. And so my question for you is like, with your children, and I look at just from the conversation you just gave me, along with what I've read, it seems like family is a true backbone of like who you are and what you represent. Uh, and so, even with that being said, how do you find that balance between your mission and serving others within the physical fitness realm, and still maintaining, making sure that being the father and the husband is always number one?
Oh yeah. So
Because a
it's
lot of people struggle with that. So it's like most parents struggle with that for sure.
yeah. I think it's for me. I reflect a lot about my own character and have an understanding of just like you know I've heard the concept of like sometimes people want to be like okay, there's your business self, then there's your professional self, then there's your family self, and like for I believe it just like God designed us to have like a real good holistic experience. So it just like I kind of seem okay when I go to work or whether I'm at home. It's like all those things. Just like how can I healthfully integrate that? So it's like with my so like my own children and like they know a lot about what I do when I'm at the gym or when I train people. And just like we talk about those things. So it just like and then even me being like a dad, it just like it's all like connected. So just
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that just like for that all my children know and already have like kind of a thought process about is a training mindset and kind of thinking about that referring to how can you better yourself each day. So just like even at home, like say it's like I work at the gym and it's like it's about 10 minutes away, but also at home we have like a gym garage, and that's kind of where Nye, my wife, that's where she gets some of her training in. But even the
Okay.
kids, it's just like if Nye wakes up early in the morning, it's like, and they wake up too, it's like, oh hey mom, can I come train? And they'll
Mm-hmm.
just sort of like mimic what she's doing, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it's having like that. I really enjoy having that like holistic atmosphere. That's like it gets the whole family involved, and um, it makes the kids aware of like what we're all doing together. Another important aspect is so during the week, Monday through Friday, I'll work and I'm able to come back, midday sometimes just for a
Mm-hmm.
little bit and then
Okay.
head back and train more people. But we've really made the effort as a family that every Saturday I've been I've made the effort of not picking up any extra clients and just spending that as our Sabbath day.
Mm-hmm.
So that way we can have like a day where I'm just searching where I'm like, okay, we're all together, and we are intentional with our time as a family. So, and that usually just means for us just like, okay, we'll wake up, maybe me and Rocky and Maverick, and we'll all like make breakfast together, and then we'll usually always go on a hike. And that was something
Yeah.
that's like last year every Saturday, we actually went hiking, whether no matter the weather last year, every week on Saturday, and that was, man, that was so good for our family.
And so, like, it seems like you're not only carving time, but you're carving out that time to do things that are physical fit. It's physical fitness as far as health, but especially when it comes to the family, because a lot of times as adults, especially if you're a business owner or you're an entrepreneur, it's always trying to juggle, like, what do you do with your free time with your children? Do you just sit down and take them to the movies? Do you play
Mm,
games? Or do you actually like build some sort of expectation of this is how we spend our time together to where it becomes a part of their lives, and I think that's very important. And I know again your common thread is like connecting to Christ and to God and just keeping that family centered around living a Christian life. Does
mhm.
any of that reflect over to your clientele, or what reflects over to your clients when you're working with them and when you're working on, as far as the physical fitness, but other, I'm sure when you're working with someone, there's always more to it than just, hey, follow the workout exercise. You also develop a relationship with them.
Oh yeah. Um, with everybody, it's like trying to treat them as like an individual. Just like there's some clients where just like I can be very open with and sharing like my faith and exactly it's like why we're doing things. But
Mm-hmm.
across the board, um, kind of with training people, it's also you're being a teacher. So just like I usually am trying to find ways that it's just like I can talk about the design of our bodies and being like, what's cool on this exercise? Just like, isn't it awesome that God designed us to have quads that allow us to like, you know, to extend our legs and just like and talking about like just the intricacies of anatomy and just
Yeah.
like all that cool stuff, or even in general, just with every client, just with real people, everybody has a different why or reason why they're training. So just like one of the girls I'm training, she's a real happy grandma and has her grandkids, and she's really enjoyed just the strength that's like she's able to like pick up and lift her kids, and she just being able to
Mm-hmm.
do those activities just, and it's like, and then talk and relate about like, what, God designed our bodies to be strong and useful. So just like that's one of the things I really get to have fun and spend time sharing with my clients and
Yeah.
everything. Just like really emphasizing that. And I think that's kind of what can be missing in the fitness industry is like a lot of people tend not to share those aspects of like, okay, so that God really did design our bodies and they're purposeful. We could do cool things with them.
Yeah, and I think that, I think a lot of times when it comes to just healthy lifestyles, people just look at it as a part of like the formula. I have to go to the gym this many hours, eat this type of food to produce this whatever results that I want to create. And I don't think people take time just to be in a moment. Or they, like I said, they take it for granted that they can do jumping jacks or they can go up the stairs or
Mm,
do a squat. Like, how can you be in a moment appreciating, what's happening, what your body's capable of doing, and what you're doing to your body in real time versus looking at it as I just need to make sure I go to the gym 30 times a day, 30 times a week versus let me go in there and really be in the moment of it and appreciate all the different things that my body's doing as far as movement and how am I taking care of it to the best capacity. And me personally, when I look at, I can relate the nutrition to physical fitness, like I look at what we give our body. We literally gift our body with the right nutrients for it to
yeah.
succeed. And I think just like kind of taking for granted that we can go up and down the stairs, we take for granted that we can just put anything in our body and it'll somehow work. It will work, but not at its best. But even if it worked at its best or not, like why are we doing it? What's really behind it? And when you pull back the lens and pull back some layers and look at it as I'm doing it because I just want to take care of this temple that was given to me. I want to take care of what God has given me in the physical sense, and I can do that by accomplishing moving it as far as my physical health, and also feeding and treating it well as far as your nutrition. So I think like that really ties into what you're saying. Like when you're doing your quad extension, like how cool is direct really realize this is like a part of God's creation, and you're living in fruition of it. And I think when people think that way, it gives them like a deeper like reason or different rooted reason as to why they're doing what they're doing versus I just need to exercise because that's what everyone else is doing type of thing, you know?
Oh
And
yeah.
and one thing you mentioned was the self-defeating mentality, like the self-defeating exercise mentality. So I'm really curious and like what break that apart a little bit because I really feel that a lot of people, especially, with COVID, just we're underway with the
Mm.
pandemic, there is a super wave of just people just using that as a reason to decide that they just really can't work out the way that they want to. So they'll just wait until things kind of subside. And to me, that just piggybacks off the self-defeating exercise mentality.
Hmm. There's a saying that uh, training or exercise, it doesn't give you value, it reflects value.
Mm-hmm.
So just like a lot of people, it's like people joke with memes and stuff like that, just like, oh, I'm exercising because I gotta punish my body or I gotta do this. But just like, that mentality, it wears you down.
Mm-hmm.
Just like if you're always like almost having to do penance for everything it's like, oh, I ate this bad food, and now it's like I have to restrict myself on this, or oh, I did this, I gotta do 50 push-ups now. Um, that that really wears you down, and it's something you can't really keep up for the entirety of your life. So it's like really reconfiguring, like, okay, what is it I'm truly after? It's like, say everybody has like little goals, like, oh, I need to lose a little this, or oh, I'd like to maybe tone up a bit to look better for my wife, or I need to get a little stronger so I can really wrestle my kids.
Mm-hmm.
But even going through those whys yourself, and kind of first and foremost, you have to get to a place where just like, okay, God, it just like I can that my happiness doesn't come from just like my circumstances. First, my joy comes from you. And if you have more of that part of like integrated with like, okay, if God, you gave me this life and all these wonderful, this body, it's just like, how can I do those things to
Reflect.
to actually think about why I should take care of myself. It's like, and that's kind of one of the things that it's like I've written in the new book I just came out with, Why You Should Exercise, Eat Healthy, and Die Anyway.
Uh-huh.
Just kind of thinking about like more of those deeper fundamental reasons of like why you should do anything, why you should go about anything you're doing in life, and just like why you should be able to be an active and healthy father, or why you can, um, in your own vocation, why you should like strive to be okay, do things with intent and for goodness. So just like kind of that or defeating exercise mentality, it's just like it's often it's revisiting just like what we as the culture have kind of like joke about, and sort of like, oh yeah, that guy's working out for this, but just like kind of finding a healthier way to view exercise or just health in general or food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. No, I like that because a lot of times if you're only taught to learn how to exercise or approach exercise or eating a certain way, then you don't have those other tools that help you to dig a little bit deeper and try to combat some of that negative talk that we have in our heads, right? That reflects in our actions to where we are doing or not doing when it comes to exercise. So I totally agree with you. You have to go a little bit. You got to dig deeper and like, what are you here for? And yes, it's easy to say, oh, you're gonna die anyway. Okay, yes, that is very true. That's a fact, and that's inevitable. But what are you doing with the life you have now to live in it to its fullest? And to
Hmm.
me, your reflection of what your body looks like, your health within things that you can control, like that's a reflection of how you're valuing the time that you've been gifted to on this earth.
Mm.
And it's not even for self. It's really for others. Like how are you using that to influence and to encourage and make change for others? Because that's what that's what this is all about. And that brings me to a question of, I mentioned, I'm not sure if you know, but like the name of my nutrition consultation company is called Better Vessel. That's a nutrition branch, and that's from the Bible, from the verse, our body is our
Mm.
temple. How can we better serve God by serving it? And so that's the whole concept behind like my coaching and my consultation is to really help people to embrace nutrition in a way that it reflects who they are, it reflects their value for themselves, and they can learn to live a
Mm.
harmonious life with it because it's their body. They only get one body. So how can you make the best
Mm-hmm.
of it? And you mentioned something about the body as a temple, and you say and keep it, keep it swept clean. Like that whole concept right there is just that's too easy. That's too easy. That's a short sentence that just makes so much sense. So I just want you to
Mm.
kind of, where
Yes.
does that come from for yourself personally, and kind of how you related those messages to your clients?
Well, scripturally, it talks so much about that our bodies are temples, and just like what are temples designed for? It's like they're places of worship. So just like when you think about your own body as a temple, it's like how can I be a better vessel to serve God and worship Him? So just like, and when you think about just the physicality or practic or of a temple, it just like think just with all temples, if they're not kept up, it's just like they end up getting cobwebs or getting cracks, and
Dilapidated.
just like
Mm-hmm.
so just like keeping it swept clean and functioning right, where you can actually be used as a good vessel to do to do good things. So that that whole analogy of like really treating your body as a temple. I remember first in my first book, Strong Willed. Um, I got really into Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like at the top, it's just like kind of a way of like viewing our just psychologically like how our bodies are function and everything like that. And I remember the base of Maslow's hierarchy is just like all your physiological needs. So just like if you have proper proper food, water, sleep, all those things, and just like and that's the foundation. Then like at the very peak of the temple, just like would be like your self fulfillment, your like
Mm-hmm.
those sort of like your purpose in life sort of things. But what's interesting is just like if if your foundation, if like your basic needs, like whether you're moving enough, whether you're sleeping enough, if those aren't met, it's really hard to like to build your temple on top of that. So just like kind of keeping like your temple swept clean is just like um that's the foundation for a lot of health, and it just like and it's so important for you to really think about like okay, if my body is a temple, I need to take care of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And these are the foundations where you start, and that's the basic needs. So, and I like that. Again, just it connects philosophy and science, but it's truth. I truly believe that our body is our temple, and keeping it kept swept clean is what's going to allow it to fulfill itself at the best way that it can. You know.
Mm.
Now one unique thing I noticed on and you mentioned a little bit of it earlier, but one unique thing I've seen that you're building is your mission, your strength and joy mission, and it's all centered around hiking and connecting to the land and connecting to God. And I see that you have kind of built out, you know, um, for families and for you even have like where places where people can go and hike. Where did I know you talked about your kids went there every Saturday last year. Where does this part comes from as far as like how you have implemented this into your overall bigger picture?
Um, my wife, or it kind of started a few years ago. My wife, she used to for her job, she was a youth minister, and she had she was in charge of about 70 kids in her youth group, and then after um, once we had Rocky, and once she found out she was like married with Maverick, we had talked a lot about it, just because it's like being a youth minister is a very busy job. So she decided it was time for her to resign from the church. And one of the cool things they did, they there's for a lot of people in ministry, before you leave, there's like some uh, there's something we went to called Sunscape, and it was like a little over a week long retreat, and it's for
Mm-hmm.
people who are in ministry once they're getting out to sort of like have a time to reflect on like just where they are in the world and like their own family and stuff like that. So me and my wife went, and one of the most important takeaways we got just like being very intentional with your rest and living more of a Sabbath type of lifestyle. So that was about um, 4 years ago, and I remember since then it just like me and I, it's like we have been spent so much time with each other, just like praying and being like, okay, how can we like what does that mean as a family, like really
Mhm.
living that out, you know?
Okay.
So it's kind of been just I would say this past year we got a lot better at figuring that out because it's like say even 3 years. I mean, last year we went hiking every single weekend, but like even 2 years ago, it's like we're still hiking, but it's like it's just something about like last year. Just I think we were just more committed and being intentional with like what even with teaching the kids, just like this is we call this our Sabbath. This is what we're doing as a family,
Yeah.
and kind of really getting like them developing like their own thought process and just like oh, this is why every Saturday just like we drive in the car and we'll go someplace neat or explore, and just like
Mhm.
having a heart for that, just because it's like it's so healthy, just to um for us just to do that with each other and everything,
As a
and
family and individually. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
just really setting that time apart to where just like um and one of the cool benefits is just like that um like this past weekend it was snowing while we were hiking, so it's just like and even on some of these trails, it's like we've been to multiple times before, but every time you go on, it's it's like that saying, you never cross the same river twice.
Yes.
So just like even like the same trail, just like in a different season or like just a different
Mhm.
day, really, it's you can always like kind of explore in a new way and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it just gives you a sense of like kind of a weekly reflection to be together just like man, this is what we're um God, you made the world so big, and I know
Mm.
just like our little space in Missouri, it just like because it's like sometimes it's like every now and then we'll drive farther off to go on a really cool place, but most stuff is within an hour driving distance from where we live, but I would encourage it's like with your own family, with anybody, just like um that you can do these sorts of things just like within around your own home, really,
Mhm.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So just finding that time to explore together and be together is so important.
Yeah. And again, I like how it's still centered around, families and Christ and the physical body. Like you're still finding a way to keep everything kind of looped in no matter what. You're just shifting the three dynamics and moving into different spaces. And I think that when it comes to hiking, and that's something that we do, actually for my son, every Mother's Day, our tradition is to go hiking and find a new
Oh,
hiking spot.
cool.
And that's for us as we spend our time together. And I'm hoping that it turns to something that he does for his wife, for his family, and it turns to like just an ongoing thing. So I do like that's what sparked me as far as the hiking. I really feel it's a great way to explore, but also be alone with self and with the person that you're with, and carving out that space in the busy world that we live in. Um,
Yeah.
so we're getting close to the end, and I want to make sure that we highlight a little bit about what's going on at your. Now, you mentioned that you have a strength and training facility called Created, correct? Now, is that something that has
Yeah.
opened up already, or are you in the process of opening up? And if so, kind of give us a little bit of insight about that, and kind of who your clientele is, and what people are to expect coming into your facility.
Yeah. It's actually our first official day will be this Saturday.
Oh,
Um
congratulations!
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Um and so kind of like even with my background being so say I used to own another gym called Strong Gym, and it was more of a its niche was like powerlifting and kind of I would say hardcore when it comes to like uh chains and like bands and just like it
Mm-hmm.
was it was more of a training center for people who liked to move heavy weight and stuff like that. Whereas just
Okay.
now I'm older, I'm like I would consider myself a retired powerlifter, but I find great value in like enjoying. I mean, like what, even though it's like I'm not powerlifting, I still squat, I still do the things powerlifters do. It's like, but my mindset is like I'm more of a I want to do these things until I'm, until the day I die
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
like I have just a healthier mindset with training. So just like that's kind of how the gym is set up. It's just like it's a training center. So just like everything there is like all the equipment I have is very purposeful and just like I
Okay.
like to teach people like just um different ways like when they're exercise how to be focused, and it's just like it's not just an arbitrary 3 sets of 10 sort of things. It's just like but to actually focus more on like okay, what's the goal of this individual exercise you're doing, and just like are you just doing to throw around weight or are you actually doing to control.
Yeah.
So kind of with Created, it's it's a cool gym, and I was purposeful in calling it the full name is Created a Strength and Health Training Center, not the Strength and Health Training
Ah.
Center, just because it's like even if you have a garage gym or anywhere in your life, it just like that could be your place of like strength and health, you know. So just like I know with our gym that we're opening up, it just like um it's a cool gym, don't get me wrong, but just like it's it's not the mecca of
Yeah.
strength. It's just like if you can, everybody, you know, should find their own way of fitness and health and like kind of what type of exercise can I practically keep up with, you know.
Yeah, so this is more like
So
another route. Yeah, another
yes.
route
Hmm.
with intentions. Great. Well, you know what? As we're getting ready to close, because I did want to highlight a little bit more. But if for those who are out there that's looking, you live in Lake of the Ozarks. For those in Missouri, you guys looking for somewhere to not just get your physical, increase your physical fitness, but also your spiritual fitness as well and mental fitness. It seems like this is the place to go. So, Will, if you got a few moments, kind of give us a place where people can connect with you either through book purchases. How can they learn more about you? How can they know where your facility is at so that they can be a part of this?
Oh yeah. My wife and I's website is strengthandjoy.co, and that's where you can find like our books. My wife, she also has a little scriptural guide that she came out with this past year. That's pretty awesome. We
Okay.
do together.
All right.
Um, the gym's website is created.center and everything like that. So on there, just like you'll just find some. I mean, we're still updating it and find some new pictures, but you can
Mm-hmm.
also connect on Instagram at w_McNeely and everything like
Okay.
that.
Great. Well, I just want to commend you for, just the enlightenment that you've had personally, how you developed that into your passion and have not let your faith fall between the cracks. I believe is your mission. So for those who are out there that are in a similar page as far as their beliefs and want to better their health, I believe this is a good place to start. So, Will, I appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to hearing more about your opening. If I was in Lake Ozarks, matter of fact, when the next time I go visit, I'll make a point to come down and check you guys out.
Yeah, right on. That'd be so cool. And it's
Yeah.
actually Ozark, Missouri.
Ozark. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Ozark. Okay. Didn't even know there was
yeah.
Ozark. All right. I'm learning something every day. Great. Well, good for those that don't want to get them confused as well. Well, Will, thank you again for coming on the show. And I really appreciate you just kind of giving your message out there and just giving people a new way of thinking about their movement and their exercise and their spirituality as well as their family dynamics.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, Rashonda. I was real excited to be here.
Great. Well, purpose well served. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time, Will.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, guys, you heard it, Mr. Will McNeely. He has a lot of moving pieces, but it's all centered around faith and all centered around family, but making sure that we take care of our temple, making sure that we are better reflecting our values of what our body is like and our health by reflecting it through our exercise. So check him out, go to his website and learn more about him. Thank you, guys, and see you next week. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. It's always a pleasure to have like minded individuals on this platform talking about their own personal journeys, but how they have expanded it to help not just themselves, but for others. So, if you want to continue to be a part of these conversations, please share, subscribe to this podcast. If you know someone else that you know would greatly benefit, please, I want to encourage you to share the news with those others to help them to find those ways to help them on their nutrition journey. As a dietitian against diets, again, it's not about the diet, but it's the diet mentality that we are rearranging and creating a new pathway for healthy living that's sustainable, that's self-serving, and that helps us to find that true level of happiness that we've all been seeking. So until next week, I'll see you again. Take care and have a great week.